The next letter to my parents is going to be by Rabbi Yosef Heisler.
I'd really rather look at the pictures than speak. Dear Abba and Mommy, I think of you both daily and miss you so much. The gratitude, the hakaras hatov that I feel towards you is beyond measure, both in a general sense and in so many details. In Parshas Yisro, in Aseres Hadibros, it says, Kabed es avicha ve'esimecha lema'an ya'arichun yamecha. It says, honor your father and your mother so that your days might be lengthened. And Rashi says there, Im techabed ya'arichun yamecha v'im lav yikatzrun. If indeed a person will honor their parents, their days will be lengthened. And chas v'shalom, if not, the opposite. Abba and Mommy, you were both zoche to arichas yomim. I know why. I saw how you treated Baba Rosenfeld, how you treated Zeta Heisler, how you spoke of them, how you spoke to them. And through that, I was able to see how you treated my other grandparents who I was never zoche to meet. The Navi in Malachi, Aleph, says, Ben Yechabed Av. Rabbi Ezra, on those words, which mean a son will honor a father. Ibn Ezra says, B'seichel halev yodua, ki haben chayav l'chabed ha'av. It stands to reason, it's common sense, that a child needs to honor a parent. That being said, the question still is, why? I remember Abba learning this particular piece in the Sefer HaChinuch, sitting in our sukkah. Perhaps not coincidentally, mitzvah Lamed Gimel. Last week was Lag BaOmer, mitzvahs Kibbud Av V'Em. It says, V'sheyiten el libo ki ha'av v'ha'em hem sibas hayosa ba'olam. A person has to contemplate and think and realize that their parents are the reason they exist. Valkain, and therefore, be'emes roi lo la'asos lahem kol kavod v'chol to'ela sheyuchal. In truth, a person should really have to do and should do every possible kindness, goodness. Ki hem heviyu la'olam, because his parents brought him into the world. Gam yogu bo kama yagios b'katnuso. They also did many forms of toil. Every parent understands this. During his youth, or her youth, ukishayikba zos hamida benafsho, if a person truly focuses on this, yale mimeno lahakir tovas hakel baruchu. From there, he will rise to the point of realizing the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu sibaso v'sibas kol avosav ad adam harishon. Hashem is the reason for a person's existence, a person's parents' existence, going all the way back to Adam and Eve, as we say. Person owes HaKadosh Baruch Hu so much for bringing us into I paraphrase the chinuch, into the air of the world, taking care of all our needs, setting us up in our lives, giving us a knowing and understanding nefesh, without which we would be no different than an animal. So really, if one understands this in the way I said it now, Kibbud Av V'Em is really preparatory to giving the proper honor and hakaras hatov to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I remember learning Abba during the summer. We were learning the Sugya and Kiddushin about mitzvahs haben al ha'av and ha'av al haben. Tana Rabbanon shlosha shutafin heim ba'adam. There were three There are three partners in a person: HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, v'aviv v'imo, and a person's father and mother. Bisman she'adam mechabed es aviv ve'es imo, at such time that a person honors appropriately their parents. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Ma'aleh ani alehem ki'ilu darti b'neihem v'chibduni. I consider it as if I dwelt immediately, in a stronger sense than I do, in their midst, and they honored me. Chas v'shalom, the opposite is also true. Mami, I'm tempted to say, Imi morasi, zechor levracha, l'chaya olam haba. I remember how you would say, my father told me that we don't do that on Shabbos. This was a grandparent that I never met. Or Mama said, this is the correct way to do that. I heard that on so many occasions. Abba and Mami, you always taught me by example. I will never forget the most seemingly small incident in my youth. It went like this. I grew up in a shul, which was a very large shul. And on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, there was a completely separate, just as large, if not larger, tefillah held downstairs in the quote-unquote social hall. And many years, Abba, you would be volunteered to give the drasha at that minyan, to be the Baal Makri. In one particular year, we were davening upstairs in the regular shul, but you were slated to give the drasha that Yom Kippur downstairs in the additional davening. And I remember near the end of the Haftarah, someone coming over to you and saying that they were ready for the drasha. And you nodded to them, you stood up, and you began to walk very slowly, uncharacteristic, very slowly towards the door of the shul. And I was tugging at your sleeve. I was saying, Abba, Abba. And you're going, don't worry. But you didn't say it, you just motioned to me. And we got to the door, somehow you timed it, that we got to the door right at the last Amen, the last bracha after the Haftarah. And then, after going into the hallway, you started walking very quickly down the steps. I could barely keep up with you. I said, Abba, what just happened? He said, well, on Yom Kippur, it's a challenge to get your 100 brachos, your 100 brachos. You can't pass up those amens from the Haftarah. Maybe it was a small incident to you, Abba, but to me it was very powerful. In general, I grew up, Abba and Mami, with a pride in feeling great about one's Misorah, about my Misorah. I'll never forget, as a 4th grade Talmud in Yeshiva Torah's Chaim at South Shore, where the dean at that time was Rabbi Yitzchak Shmidman Zatzal, and the Menahel at that time was Rabbi Yamin Kamenetsky Zatzal. My Rebbe was, my 4th grade Rebbe, Rabbi Moshe Brisky, was a Chabad Chassid, completely unfamiliar with Minhagei Ashkenaz, regular Minhagei Ashkenaz. And I remember invariably in this class of 28 boys, usually around Yom Tov time, while we were learning the halachos of the Yom Tov, my Rebbe turning to me and saying, Heisler, what do they do in your house? Perhaps the most powerful compliment, but I don't think he meant it as a compliment. He just wanted to know. He knew I had parents who followed a Masorah, clearly, and if that was the minhag, he could be pretty sure that that was the minhag Ashkenaz, that he would then talk and reinforce with the rest of the Ashkenazic children in the class. So why do we honor parents? Why do we honor grandparents? Our community has recently been blessed with new great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. Kanai Nahara. What's so special? Well, there's a story told of Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky on a flight to Eretz Yisrael, sitting next to a not yet religious individual who was a higher up in the Israeli government, I believe in the Misrad HaChinuch. And every few moments, one of Rav Yaakov's grandchildren seemed to be coming over to him to ask him if he wanted a drink of water, if another pillow, a blanket. The air was too cold, too warm. So after a while, this Israeli gentleman said, "Who are these, your students?" And Rav Yaakov said, "No, they're my enukoch, they're my grandchildren." And the man said, "What? They're your grandchildren? I'm lucky if I see my grandchildren once in a while on their birthdays, when they come around maybe to collect a gift. What is this?" And Rabbi Yaakov said, "Well, let me explain to you something. In Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, the greatest generation was the Dor Deah, that generation that exited Mitzrayim, that saw the revelation at Har Sinai of the Shekhinah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of God himself. And every generation gets a little further away from there. We're still a link in the chain, but we're not as close to that original tremendous moment. But when you look at a parent, a grandparent, a great-grandparent, sometimes a great-grandparent who saw their grandparents, you leapfrog over so many generations. You're so many steps closer to the Ma'amad Har Sinai, to the Gilui Shekhinah, to Klal Yisrael, that great revelation. That's why we have such tremendous, tremendous respect for the generations that came before. He went on to say, and to contrast that with something else, but I won't delve into that right now. Abba, I'll never forget how you told me a tremendous mashal from Zayda, Zichron Livracha, Zayda Heisler, Zayda Avram Eliezer, how it's common in the world for people to always look at those who they believe they have more ruchnios, more spirituality, more Torah knowledge, more mitzvos than, and to take comfort in the fact that, well, I have more than that person. And normally the way of the world is a person looks at somebody who's very wealthy and has all the toys and the money and say, "Oh, I don't have nearly as much as they do." But in fact, it's supposed to be the other way around. We're supposed to look at those that we have more than in gashmius and physical matters and say, "I'm very lucky." We're supposed to look at those who have more than us in ruchnius and say, "Look what I need to reach for." And you explained to me how Zayda said the best way to always remember that is, Ki Hashem hu ha'elokim, as we say in Aleinu, for Hashem is God. Bashamayim, when it comes to Inyane Ruchnios, spiritual matters, Mimal. Always look at who possesses more. Val Ha'aretz, and when it comes to physical matters, Gashmios, Mitachas. Look at who has less. That's the appropriate way. Kiddushin Lamed Aleph, the same Gemara. Tana Rabbanon Mechabdo B'chayav Mechabdo B'moso. A person has to honor their parent during their life, and if things work out that way, afterwards as well. B'moso, after a person's parent is no longer in this world, they're to say, Kach Amar Abba Mori Zichrono Livracha L'chayolom Haba. After the first year, that's what they're supposed to say. This is what my father, my Rabbi, of blessed memory, to life in the world to come, and the same for a mother. Kach Amar Imi Morasi Zichrono Livracha L'chayolom Haba. I remember Abba so often hearing, Papa pflegt zugen. To me, that meant Zayda would say, or Azoy had Papa Gatan. This is what Zayda did. Maybe you weren't meaning to make an impression on me with those statements, but they certainly did. I remember, and I will close with this, how you were once giving a shiur on the yurtzeit of Zayda, and you were speaking about the topic of Kibbud Av V'Em. I couldn't have been more than 9, maybe 10. It was a year or two after his Patira. And you ended with the words, and those who still have the opportunity, indeed the privilege, to do so, meaning the mitzvah of honoring one's parents, of Kibbud Av V'Em, those who still have the privilege to do so in the best possible way, while they are alive should take advantage, should grab that privilege. So Abba and Mami, it was and is the greatest honor and privilege to be your child. Tehei nishmasam tzurah b'tzorah chaim. Love, Yosef Binyamin.